Good afternoon. I'm so grateful that you tapped and are sharing this time with me. I want you to know that I have launched LBW Coaching, Infinitely You, and this is a part of my launch. And the reason I've come on today is to share a little bit about my story so that you can know where I'm coming from so I can give back. And stay tuned, because at the end, I have a special announcement about an opportunity that I'm going to be sharing with everyone. A little bit about my story. 3 years ago, my mother went in for elective surgery and she never woke up. And I spent 5.5 weeks at her bedside, stuck in a place of trying to reconcile my relationship with her and figure out how I was going to be someone other than the angry daughter, the angry and victim daughter stuck. And it was very difficult. So my story began, and I am not defined by this experience, but my story began when I was a little girl, and I lived in a world where I survived emotional and physical abuse from my mother, very young age, up until I was about 16 years old. And then for my adult years, I tried to manage a very chaotic, emotionally chaotic relationship with her because she was a borderline personality and a narcissist. And it was difficult trying to find a way to balance that so that we could all almost survive. I did the best I could and the worst I could, but I tried. And then the other part of my story is that my parents got divorced, left, and ended up leaving me with my mother, taking my brother. And he took on the role of the parent who was absent. That's just a little piece of my story that brings us back to 3 years ago when my mother died. So after she died, I spent about 10 months in a depression filled with grief, not knowing how to manage this, looking out my window, trying to figure out who I was without my anger. Now, what I did know was that anger was a mask, a protection, a boundary that people keep from emotions that are behind lurking. And there was a lot of processing in that I'll share more as things develop. But then, a year after my mother dies, I'm just turning the corner around 10 months, and a year after my mother dies, my father passes away. Crazy, unexpectedly crazy, little insane. And so here I am. I'm now a year in, and I'm now closing out 2 estates, and this is where it gets a little trickier. How old am I? 47 years old. And I'm closing out this estate, and it's a little chaotic because I had step siblings, one in particular, who decided to be a very greedy person, and it split up the family. But the issue was that I found myself on the receiving end of this person and was in a victim space. This person was mean and bullied me, but I accepted it because that's what I knew to do. That was how I lived my life out of default. And not that he wasn't responsible for his behavior, but that's how I received it. I felt that I was at the receiving end of life. And I didn't know that there was another choice. So something happened that changed the trajectory of my life. One of the conversations I was having with this stepbrother, he was doing his normal bullying, I know everything, and I'm shaking. I'm in emotional chaos because that was kind of where I lived. When I got pushed, I just defaulted to emotional chaos because I felt that I had no control. And so we hang up, and I feel terrible. I feel like a victim. I feel hopeless. I don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden, I start beating myself up. You're so scared. You need to take back your life. Why are you always doing this? And all of a sudden, in the middle of it, almost like there was this moment where I had an out-of-body experience. It was like I was watching it, but I was in it. And all of a sudden, this amazing, strong voice came out and said, "There is nothing wrong with you. Stop." And I remember stopping, like time stood still, and I didn't know what to do. It was amazing to me that this power from inside of me, and there was almost this clarity, like a door had shifted. And I just remembered hearing that same voice say to me, "Enough with the self-help books. Stop worrying about the therapy. Stop worrying about the antidepressants. Stop worrying. Stop worrying. Everything you have is right inside of you." It was so powerful, and I was so grateful, and I was so clear-headed, and I was never the same. Never the same. Something shifted inside of me permanently. So the next thing I know, a few months later, I decide that I'm going to go ahead and go to graduate school to get my master's in social work. I actually applied to the University of Central Florida, got accepted, but I was going back and forth and trying to figure out, was it fear about going to social work, or did it not feel right? And so again, I was talking to a girlfriend because I was incredibly indecisive. I didn't know what I wanted. And so we're in the car for the 88th conversation, and she just screams at me and goes, "Oh my God, you need to be a life coach." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And turns out she's a life coach. And one of the number one rules is, as a life coach, you're not allowed to tell people what they're supposed to do, because the premise to life coaching is every client is fully capable. They have all the answers. I didn't know this. What was interesting was, over the previous month, 4 other people had said to me in this kind of universal synchronistic way, "You should be a life coach." So I didn't know what it was. My girlfriend said, "Let me go ahead and share these books with you." She read the books. It was from a company called IPEC, the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching. I read the books. I said, "Hell yeah, I'm in." So the next thing I know, I become a life coach. It was the most powerful and transformative journey that I can only recommend to every single human being on the earth. I am the same person. I am just the person I was meant to be. I was able to take back my life, take back my heart, take back my potential, my everything, my everythingness. And so as I began my coaching process, again, I told you that the premise is every client is fully capable. And it was then that I realized that no matter how many years of therapy I had, no matter all the antidepressants I took, no matter all the beautiful books that I read, that no matter that I had this beautiful husband who came to me via God, 3 beautiful children that fill me with gratitude, friends that loved me and told me how much they loved me, that it didn't matter, that I couldn't accept their love because I was missing one critical component. I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. I wasn't whole, but I never knew that I was already whole. And this experience, again, changed my life. And it was like that song from Amazing Grace. I was blind and now I see. I'm living a completely different life that I didn't know I was capable of living. And I'm so grateful. And so this has led me to launching my coaching practice, LBW Coaching, The Infinite You, and my upcoming webinar, where my goal is to support and empower survivors of abuse and trauma still being held captive by their past, to claim their everythingness and achieve emotional and spiritual freedom. Because it's there. It's right there, and you totally deserve it. You can find your voice. You can rebuild your confidence. You can learn self-acceptance and self-love. It has been such a beautiful and powerful gift, and it's the gift that I want to share. It is my calling. You are enough. You are perfect, and I want you to choose you. So tomorrow, I will be announcing the day, time, and topic for my upcoming webinar. So be on the lookout, and maybe you could block off that time, or maybe you could even share this post with someone you know might need the support. Share it with a friend. I feel like I've found the cure for cancer, and I want to bring people on this journey so they can begin to reclaim their everythingness. It's so beautiful. I want you to know you're enough. You are perfect. I am here for you. You are not alone. More importantly, you never actually were alone. So stay tuned, and thank you very much for being a part of my story.